Hello chaps and chapettes, welcome to the Casual Gamer Monthly. This is for November 2024. This is a video blog of all the games that I've played over the month of November. And because there's so many games to talk about, I'm going to break this into two videos. There's going to be one video where I'm going to give first impressions of new games that I've played for the first time. And then the other video will be games that I've played a few times before, or maybe hundreds of times before as well, to give you kind of like an idea of whether these games are for you. And that's what these videos are for. They're just advice. Friendly, non-censored advice about games that I've played, my opinions, what works, what doesn't work, and give you kind of like an overview of the game as well, and the mechanisms and how they mesh together, and if they mesh together. In this video, I'm going to be doing my first impressions. So let's go over to this screen. These are the games that I've played over November, and you can see what they are by their titles, and you can also see the number of times that I've played them. Now, I'm not going to talk about all of these games, as I said. This is going to be first impressions, and the first impressions are in this video. We have the 1am Jailbreak, Babylon, Bus Stop, Come Sail Away, Napoleon Saga Waterloo, Tower Up, and Whirling Wizards. So those are the games I'm going to be talking about in this video. If you want to look at the other games, I'll talk about them in the other video. And I'm going to start by saying big thank you to BGG. Without you, my life would be on Facebook instead of here. But anyway, yeah, go and support their end of year support thing if you're a BGG, or if you're a board gamer. Go and check out all the reviews there. Well, not all of them, because it's not possible, because there's too many people reviewing games. So yeah, let's talk about some first impressions. So here, as you can see, this is 1am Jailbreak, which came out in 2024 this year, and it's a small card game. And as you can see, I've played it once and I've rated it a 5 out of 10. A 5 is a mediocre. I can take it or leave it. Let me explain why. So this game may feel familiar and sound familiar to you because it feels like a traditional kind of card game that you would play with a normal deck of cards. In the game, it's basically you're trying to get rid of your hand of cards, and the deck of cards is made up of prisoners numbered from 1 to 9 or 1 to 8, as you can see from the image here, and you need to get rid of your hand of cards before the deck runs out. What's going to be happening is on your turn you will play a number of cards from your hand, and that number of cards will be the same number as what was played before you. So if the previous player played 3 cards, you need to play 3 cards. Now those 3 cards need to be 3 of the same number or a series, so 4, 5, 6 or 5, 6, 7 or whatever. You can also play 1 less or 1 more than the previous player. So you can play 3 cards like they've played, or you can play 4, or you can play 2, which will then pass on to the next player, and they will have to play that number of cards. So there's no indication of what the card numbers do themselves. They're just a set collection, so to speak. And so you'll keep playing, and as I said, you're trying to get rid of your hand before the deck runs out, because after you've played a bunch of cards, you get to draw from a pool, and you take a card and you put it in. Possibly you take a few more cards. So if there's like 2 1s, you take 2 1s. I can't recall, but yeah. So this deck of cards is going to be depleting, which is your timer, and as you can see, this is quite a quick playing game, and you're going to play over several rounds to see who escapes the most. Just to clarify, yeah, this picture shows you that it's 1 to 8, and there's a joker in there as well, so that joker can count as any number. I found this game very light. As I said, it feels like a traditional kind of card game that I've played many times before. Nothing big, new, exciting about it for me personally. But if you are a player of these types of games, or this kind of thing interests you, and you've never played a game of rummy or whist or whatever it's called, then this game might be for you. It's colourful, it's small, it's compact, so you can take it everywhere, and it's easy to pick up and play, and it gives you a nice little kind of challenge. Probably best with the large number of players, which is, zooming back here, yeah, 4 or 5 players. Definitely good. 2 players, I can't see that being fun. It'd just be a back and forth of, trying to outplay the other player. Now there is a bit of strategy involved in this. If you can see like the player could be out next to you, then you know, and they've got 4 cards left in their hand, well, you basically need to play and try and mount the number as a team. So you kind of like a little bit team play against a certain player that will possibly win and possibly not. You're probably just going out for yourself. So yeah, it's not bad, but it's nothing new that I've seen or heard of. But yeah, as I said, if this game sounds for you, then go and pick it up. It's fun, it's quick, it's light, and it's probably very inexpensive, and as I said, portable and easy to learn. Next we have one game that was spoken a lot at the 2024 Spiel, and that's Babylon, which is from Creation Games. And Oliver Gregory, he's the designer who's designed Outlive, has done, you know, I love Outlive. So I was quite excited to play this game. And this game is a kind of, how do I explain? Let's show a picture. There you go, a lovely picture of what the game could look like. And this looks like it's CGI, but the game looks kind of like that anyway. And in this game, basically what happens is you're going to be building this lovely landscape, this Babylonian landscape, by number one, drawing a tile. Now there's going to be, in the actual box, tiles. Some of them have your icon on them, some of them have the other player's icons on them, and when you take it, that will determine how many actions you can play. And here we can see the box itself. There are 3 layers of tile, and so the top layer of tiles have like 2 icons on them, and these you're trying to align when you place them onto your little player board. As you can see to the side, or just above my head here, you got a little player board, and there's some reserve spaces, and then there's the holes that you place these columns in. You also have like your own little reserve tile as well, which you can take and use instead of the tile that you've just taken. Now when you take a tile from the middle, this will dictate how many of the columns you get to take and use on your turn, and then you start building and start structuring. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get these other playing pieces into play, because they're going to score you the points, the fountains, the bridges, the stairs, the statues as well, but they all need to be played in their own separate way. So as you can see, the bridge there, it needs to be a space apart. But the thing is, those spaces on the tile need to have the bridge icon on them. You can't just put bridge anywhere. They have to have a bridge icon on them so you can place them. The fountains as well. The fountains go across 2 tiles, but the tiles need to be connected. The stairs obviously need to be 1 layer above the other. Yeah, and you're going to just keep playing and playing until a certain game element will happen, which will signify the end of the game. You take an X amount of tiles. So everyone's taken, I think, 12 tiles, and the game ends, and then you do a count up of your scoring. You score X amount for your bridges, your stairs, and if you've used other players' tiles, you get bonus as well. And that's the game. Wow, that's a nice painted version. Ooh. Yeah, so a little bit about the game. This is quite a thinky game. It's spatial because you are looking at your tiles and you're deciding which tile you want, because number one, the tile that you take will determine how many little columns you take, and you can trade 2 small columns in for a large column, so that's another option. And you can only hold about 6 columns anyway in your reserve, so there's all that to think about. So they've got kind of like a bit of resource management, but you've also got this spatial organization that you have to think. And because it's 3D, it's a little bit harder than a lot of other spatial games. Number one, there's when you take the tile and you go, okay, I want the bridge to go here, but you can't get it to line up, or you can't place it there because you've already built something in that space, which can be a little bit frustrating. So there is this whole kind of forward planning, forward thinking movement of like, right, if I put that tile there, I'm gonna not be able to build a bridge because it's gonna go off the board or whatever. So you have to think, okay, right, I don't want that bridge, I primarily want that statue or whatever. So there's a lot of thinking involved in it. Let's try and get some like real life screenshots of the game. That's a bit better. So yeah, if you like deep thinky games and 3D placement and planning, this game is going to be perfect for you. If you just like spatial awareness games, this game is going to be good for you. Apart from that, it can be a little bit finicky as you build stuff and things fall over and you got to reconnect them and stuff, and then the table moves, and then it doesn't move too much. I'm not going to say that it's like Jenga, you're worried about it all falling over, but there is like a little bit of finicky. The pieces are quite small. If you've got big fingers, there's going to be a little bit of a trouble, but it is a very cerebral 3D puzzle that you have to figure out and try to outsmart your opponents by taking the right pieces at the right time, or the right tile at the right time, because as I said, there's a bonus if you use a tile marked with another player's icon, and if you get a series, that's extra points. If you get 2 series of other players, but the thing is, you get a bonus column if you take your own tile. That's the thing, and it's like you got to weigh that up. Do I go for other players' tiles because that icon's in the right place with this icon as well? And as the layers go down, as I said, the top layer of these tiles, they start with 2 icons. The second layer is 3 icons, and the bottom layer is 4 icons. So there's a lot more choice. So there's other little restrictions with the tile taking as well, but it is quite a cerebral game and very, very, very colourful, very vibrant. I wish the tiles were a little bit more different from each other. I did have trouble with the icons myself. Yeah, if you like deep, thinky games, this is for you. This is Bus and Stop, again a game that came out this year, and it is a drafting game with cards, and it came very close to being a my cup of tea kind of game. I enjoyed it, but I don't know. Let's talk about it. So it's a card game basically, and you'll be drafting from a pool in the reserve, and every time you draft, you take all the cards of the same color. Now, they might be the same person in there, or they might be different people. And you have all the different types there. You have like the college guy, you have the sports guy, you have the old guy, you have the business guy, and then you have the mother. So there's 5 different types. And you have like this imaginary bus, which has 10 spaces. It's a double decker, so there's 5 upstairs and 5 downstairs. So when you take these cards, you add them to your bus. That's what you can do on your turn. The other thing you can do on your turn, instead of drawing from and drafting from the pool of reserves, you can deposit people at a bus stop. But when you deposit, you need to do all of the same type of card. So, for example, the businessmen need to be dropped off at the office. And so if you drop off a few businessmen, you might not get no points, or you get a very low score of points, and you'll take a point marker card, and that will score. But if you drop off a load, you're going to get a bigger benefit, a bit more points at the end, which is what you want. And you're going to do this until X amount of these objective cards with points on them are resolved. And then you do a final score, you add them all up, and the winner is the player who has, dropped people off at the right place to get the most amount of points. This game is very, very light, very easy to pick up, but there's the whole, I want that, oh, it's not my turn, I wait until my turn, and then, oh, that card's gone, and I'm going to have to go for something else. And so there is that kind of like, yeah, you can prepare, but it might change before it gets to your turn. The game plays very, very quickly, it's very fluid, there's not a lot of really downtime in this game, but there is enough there to occupy your brain and keep you planning and trying to outwit the other players, so to speak, because you can see what they have and what they're possibly going for. Do you want to try and get 6 students off to school to give you the 14 points as shown in the image, or do you want to hold on and try and get a 7th one to get you the extra one? Again, there's only X amount of these objective cards, and once X amount have gone, it's game over. The card art is light, it's colourful, it's very easy to see, it's very easy to work out, and there's just enough strategy to keep your brain going, which is what makes this game kind of a fun, different alternative to a lot of games that I've played over the years. Thematic, it works as well, kind of. It's very, very old worldy, stereotyped. Like the old people will not get on your bus, but they will give you a point at the end of the game because they're using their pensioner bus pass. And then obviously businessmen are businessmen, mothers are mothers, and kids are kids. You might take offense to that, but it's so light and you know, fluffy. It kind of works. So if you're looking for a kind of good, light, different card game, thematically kind of old world England, this game could be for you. This is Bus and Stop.
This video was made possible with the help of Game Toppers. Upgrade your gaming experience with a Game Topper.
Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with Bull. You guys. Ooh. Anyway, let's talk about Come Sail Away. I really like this game. I give it an 8, and I would probably give it a my cup of tea. I did enjoy this game. It's kind of a worker placement game where you are putting people onto your ship. But what you want to do is put them in the right place to score you points at the end of the game or to complete rooms. So on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to draw a card and then take that many meeples of those colours, and then you're going to choose one place on your boat, a room on your boat, and you're going to place one there, and then you're going to need to place the next meeple in an adjacent space. And so you're going to create a route with the meeple that you've just picked up. There are some cards which just say you can just plonk it there and it's done. And as you can see, this looks like little tiles. So yes, this is a modular board. So you're going to be building a different board every time you play, which makes this game a bit more replayable. And your objective is to try and get people in the right spaces. So you're going to try and get red meeples into the red rooms. Once they're done, you turn the tile over and it's going to score you points. That room, it just becomes an empty space which people can walk through. You've got your main lobby in the middle, which you can use as a reserve, so you can plonk a meeple there, but you only can reserve 3 of the 5 colours I think there are in the game there. So you can't put everybody in there that you can't find a space for. As you can see, there's some chairs as well. On the top, just above my head, there are 4 different kind of shaded chairs, which means that you can put 4 different colour meeple in that space. There are some rooms which have 4 chairs, but they're 2 different types of shade, so you can have only 2 types of meeple colour in that space. So this game becomes a nice kind of cerebral puzzle. Some of the cards have this business briefcase, okay, and if you can place that meeple, that blue meeple in particular, in a blue room, that will give you a bonus, and then you can go across this track across the top. This track will then give you special powers, because sometimes you can't put a meeple of the right colour in the right room, and so they have to go into a separate area and they will count as negative points at the end of the game. But this little track at the top, if you reach certain locations, it will give you the possibility to put them into any space on the board, and so you don't lose those points. But the other thing that they do is they also unlock these extra rooms that you place on the side, and so they're like an extra passage and an extra space to, you know, place extra meeples. There's also a random kind of objective track as well, so if you manage to fill up room 4, and every player is going to have the same boat layout basically. So yeah, it's a modular game. You're going to modularly make a boat, and then everyone has to copy that modular boat, so everyone's got the same locations, you know, and the same layout. And the first one to do room 4 scores points. This game was really fun. It's a nice, again, kind of drafting from a pool of cards to take meeples and then plan out your route where you're going to go. It's quite a slow play game. There is that whole kind of like planning ahead and thinking, okay, your own little pool to choose a card and then draft it from yourself and then place out your meeples and plan your route, which is I enjoyed very much. This kind of like, okay, yeah, red, blue, green, okay, red, blue, green, okay, I can do that there, or I can do it there, which was nice. It's kind of light, but at the same time, there's quite a bit of profound depth to it. Everyone's got the same board, but everyone's going to be doing different things with the different colors that they have and their different opportunities. It's like, wow, yeah, I never thought of that. But it's like a really kind of deep enough but not too deep game to get your brain going, and if you like route planning and trying to efficiently maneuver a machine and drop resources off, this is a perfect game for you. I enjoyed this one very much. I look forward to seeing it be more widely distributed, and then hopefully get this in my collection because it was really enjoyable. Come sail away, come sail away, come sail away with me. Hey guys! Now to a game called Napoleon Saga Waterloo, which came out in 2019. This is a war game, a two-player game, where you're going head-to-head confrontation with your army. It's the English versus the French. And it has no score rating on it because... yeah, I played the game once and I found it very static and very dry. You basically will have a small deck of cards and they're made up of different units, and then you place them out on a board face down and your opponent does the same, and then you reveal and then you start fighting. You choose an action. You can either swap places with adjacent spaces. You've got a reserve. You can add cards to your reserve on your turn. But then mainly you're just attacking. You're just hitting the other player and hoping that the dice roll and the statistics of the card are going to knock that character out, and so they get removed from the board, and hopefully the other player cannot refill the space, because the game will be won if there are X amount of empty spaces on the board on your opponent's side. And that's basically the game. There are a few other little things like reservists, which can come around the sides. But yeah, it just felt like a slap in the face kind of game. You know, the kind of one where you got a little halibut and you slap your opponent in the face, and then they have a big salmon and then they slap you in the face. And then you get your little halibut out and you slap them in the face. And then they knock you off the pier. The artwork is fine. The artwork is good. I'm sure that there's some good gameplay in it. It's just I didn't get to experience it. There are options that you can do. You can do some charging, which would give you a +1 attack, but the moment that you stop charging, it gives you a -1 on your defense. But that was mainly for the cavalry and horseback mounts. Yeah, I didn't feel a lot of depth and tactical strategy in the game. You know, you got an injured player, you recall them. Yeah, you recall them and put them in the first aid office, and then send someone out into the space, or you just leave them there and just go bang, take that, bang, take that, bang, take that. Yeah, those kind of games don't really kind of, I can't really recommend it unless you're a war buff and you like these type of games. Then yeah, go for it. Next up we have Tower Up, which I'm definitely going to give my cup of tea. It is my cup of tea. This is a very kind of not mediocre, but medium weight game which people can get into from the get-go. It's a building game. It's at its base, at its core, it's an abstract game, but it has this whole building theme placed onto it, and it works. Players are going to have a little player board with some construction vehicles on it, which are going to keep tally of things. I can't remember, but yeah, you're going to have some little blocks as well, and some roofs of your colour. And on your turn, you've got a choice of one or two actions. You can either place one of your blocks into an adjacent block space next to a already constructed block, but the restrictions are that that block that you place has to be a different colour from the one next to it, and you need to be able to place a block of the same colour on that adjacent block, if that makes any sense. So yeah, it gets a bit more complicated when there are two other buildings next to the space that you want to plant. You can't use the two different colours that are there, and then you also have to place a different colour plus one of each of those colours for those two blocks to make them go up. And at any time you can place a roof on one of those buildings that you helped construct and level up. The other option that you have is to take some more blocks, and then there's a little pool of cards which you'll see just above me, and you go, I'll take that one, and so that one will give you 2 greys and a brown, and then you just build up a pool of blocks. There's no like limit apart from what there is in the game, so once you start running out, it becomes a little bit harder to try and achieve what you want to try and do. There's going to be 3 random objectives. The first one to do it will get X amount of points, the second one to do it will get less points, and then obviously the other players will get very, very few points. But that's it. It's a kind of Ticket to Ride entry-level game which works really, really well. There are little powers as well, so as I said, the construction vehicles, once you move them up the track, there's several ways of doing that. either by taking cards, or there's another way as well. But they will give you like an extra turn, so you can have 2 turns on your turn. And if you manage to move another one past another line, it gives you 3 turns, so you can like combo. These will also give you points at the end of the game, not just the objectives, but wherever these construction vehicles are will score you points. And that's it. It's a very, very simple, light, colourful-ish game. Going back to Babylon, this game is, you know, a spatial awareness game, but it's less, because of the 3D-ness is gone. It's just more left and right sometimes, and just maybe just straight ahead of you. That's what you need to be concentrating on. As I said, it is very kind of an abstract game, but it works. The theme works. The mechanisms work. You're placing a brick, which is going to be different, but at the same time you need to place other bricks which correspond to the ones that next to it. And so this board will build up, and it will become slightly and slightly more complex as it goes. And you'll be looking for strategies on how to achieve the objectives, because the objectives that we played were you got to build a building and place your roof on one which had a swimming pool, or you had to have a roof on the first level, second level, third level and fourth level of a tower anywhere on the board. And so like those little things you had to think about while you were like, okay, if I place that there, that's going to do that. And there's a little bit of downtime as each player takes their turn, but that gave you time to think a bit and go, I'm going to go there, or I'm going to take that card, or I'm going to do this. Oh, I can't do that now because that player's done it. Okay, right, let's go back to plan B and plan C. You know, that kind of gameplay. We played 4 players, and it was quite long. It was about an hour or so, but it didn't feel it. There was plenty to do, plenty of opportunity, and right at the end, it was like, okay, there's not much I can do now because I didn't have the right colour blocks. Certain blocks had run out. It was a case of like, I need to find points, the most points possible with whatever I've got left. There are opportunities everywhere at the beginning, more in the middle, and then at the end it feels constraint. So you really have to maybe make that charge in the middle or at the beginning and prepare yourself for whatever. Nobody controls anything. It's just you're helping construct everywhere and trying to, you know, use your resources to give you a boost in points and move your vehicles along your track. This is a game that I definitely want in my collection. It's really, really fun. It's that, as I said, medium weight kind of entry level game which anyone can get into. Very small rules, easy to understand, great components, great insert and tray. The only drawback is that sleeved cards do not fit in the tray. That's the only drawback. But yeah, if you like those kind of Ticket to Ride-esque kind of feeling games, this is a very good one. Okay, and to wrap things up on this video, because I don't want to go on too long, because that's going to be too many YouTube adverts for you to watch, we have Whirling Witchcraft, which is an older game. Now this is a kind of resource management game in a sense, as you are wanting to use ingredients to make spells to center the other player, but then those spells will give them ingredients which will fill up their resource cupboard, so to speak. So yeah, you have these player boards which can hold X amount of each of these different resources, these components for a spell, let's put it that way. Okay, and on your turn you're going to take a card which will be a recipe, and then you can put those things together. You can use those ingredients which will transform them into other ingredients. So you're like putting stuff in to take stuff out, and then you put it into your cauldron, the stuff that comes out, that is. And hopefully you're trying to give your opponent more than they can handle, which will knock them out of the game and give you points. At the same time, you're going to be getting points for this anyway as you go. Yes, it's wooden cubes, but yes, the other components are really nice, like the cauldrons where you pass on the ingredients to your opponents. And as I said, try and fill up their reserves to try and give yourself points. Some recipes will give you these little boosters on this track that you have, and you have 3 kind of like elements, so to speak, and every time they hit a 2, 4 or 6, they're going to unlock a special power which you can then unravel. So there is some replayability in the fact that you can play slightly different in that respect, where you can go for really high powered spells which move up the track quickly so you can clog up the other players pretty fast, or you can just go for those ones which you put in one ingredient and it chucks out 3. They're hard to get because you're going to be drafting with the other players. And that's something that we didn't play with. Special individual powers. Yeah, we didn't play with them, but they're in the game, which makes it even more replayable. This is a kind of really fun kind of 30-minute game. You're not going to play too long. You're probably going to end up with about 10 or 12 recipes before the game finally ends. You do your little scoring and that's it. It was fun. It was light. Pretty easy to get into. Although I did have a bit of trouble at the beginning understanding it. But yeah, it was like a slap in the face moment where you're like, oh yeah, I never thought of that. I just thought I was just recycling my, instead of giving them the stuff to screw them up. Yeah. Wow, there's some powerful cards there. Okay. Well, we just played with the recipe ones. So it was a case of, you know, put in this to get that, or vice versa. It plays up to 5 players, and I can see that can be quite a fun take that kind of game where you just basically just take that. There you go. Have some of that. Have some of that. You're casting spells at each other, making people drink your potions and turning. Yeah, but it quite enjoyable. That's Whirling Witchcraft. But there you go. There's some first impressions of some games that I played for the first time. Whew, they were a lot of them were very good and very enjoyable. But you don't have to take my advice for it. Check out other reviewers, see what they say about these games as well, and then just build up a picture of, yeah, this game is for me, or not. To be or not to be. So as I said, I'm going to do another video when I get time of all the other games that were on my list, ding 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 ding, which I played, ding 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 ding. So you can check that out, and I'll set a link up and everything. So I'll say thank you very much for watching, thank you for getting to the end of this video, and I'll say ciao for now. Play nice with each other.
Just sitting at the table next to Felicia would be quite nice. Wouldn't it be good? I got some board games.